Hi, thank you for joining me. I am doing a mock counseling session for cognitive behavior therapy. Again, this is not a real session, it is a mock session, and it is not intended for actual counseling usage. Hi Mel, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for coming back in with me. I'm going to ask you one question, and then I'm just going to let you talk, okay? Lately, what has happened with you that has caused you such anxiety?
With school and the teachers not always doing as told and being lazy, it's harder for me to grasp what they are teaching, and it's causing my grades to suffer. But I'm trying to keep up with that. And just a new school, new environment, trying to fit in, worried, if everyone's gonna like me or not. And then just family issues with family and things like that stressing me, causing anxiety.
What does an anxiety attack look like for you?
For me, it's just a rage of, no noises. The slightest noise makes me want to just yell and all that. I want to break down and cry sometimes, just out of anger.
What have you ever tried in the past that has diffused that for you?
Music.
But you can't have that in school.
True.
Okay.
I'll just ask to be removed or ask to leave class, go to the bathroom for a minute, take a deep breath, and turn.
Well, actually, that's a good skill. I mean, because it does remove you from the situation and it gives you a chance to get a hold of your own thoughts, which is a very good skill. But if I'm hearing everything correctly, there's kind of a compounded issue here. You're in a new school, so I'm taking that you've moved.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me a little more.
Well, with my mom, it wasn't always easy. Her boyfriend, all that. It was just easier for me to be with my dad. So I decided to move to Oklahoma with him. He moved here for a job, and it's really been better for me mentally, getting away from the place I used to live.
Okay. Where is mom?
She is back down in Texas.
Okay, so you're talking several hours distance.
Yes.
How is the relationship with your mom since you've moved?
It's different. We haven't talked near as much, but in all reality, I haven't really thought of her.
Okay, so is there anxiety there too, or is it just needing time away? What is the tension?
It's not really any tension, no anxiety.
Okay.
Except for when we do talk, it's always, you can come back, and that stresses me out.
Okay. Because she's not accepting what you're doing right now.
No, ma'am, she's not.
She's just expecting you to want to come home.
Yes.
Is that her normal behavior for you?
I mean, whenever I told her I did want to move, yes, she has been more, trying to get me to stay.
Okay.
But before that, it was normal mom not thinking of it.
Okay, so anxiety is something you've had even though you were with your mom versus with your dad. It's not just something that has followed you from Texas.
It's something I've always had.
Okay. One of the things that I can help you with is, number one, giving you something to talk about. This is a safe zone. So anytime that you have something to say and we're in session, it doesn't matter necessarily how you say it, just as long as you say it.
Yes, ma'am.
Fair?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know teenagers, they have a slip of the tongue every now and then, and some language comes out, and then they kind of go, ah! Don't do that. It's okay. I'm not going to tell on you. Number two, I would like to give you some skills for when you're in school to help you diffuse to where maybe you don't have to step out of class when you're already struggling.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to give you some skills when you're at home. It's a little easier to do things when you're at home because you're comfortable. That's a comfortable surrounding. But it's something for you to practice, because the more you practice, the better you will be doing it where nobody knows what you're doing in school.
Yes.
So it doesn't make you look like you're crazy. You know, that's how that goes. And just ignore that, please. But when it comes to anxiety, anxiety is actually something that is normal for everybody. I've had the pleasure of meeting your dad, and he was very anxious about you doing this.
Yes, ma'am.
Not because he was concerned with what you'd say, but I think he's just more concerned that he's not doing something right. It has nothing to do with him. This is about Melody.
Yes, ma'am.
I have anxiety. Every time I have a brand new client, I go through the same steps that I'm going to show you because I want to be the best that I can be for my clients.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One of the things that you can do, you've already said, is take a deep breath. Close your eyes and just take, I call it a gut breath.
Yes.
As deep as you can get it, and stick that belly out there. It looks a little silly, but it works. And it works because you're focusing on your breathing. Okay? Have you ever heard of meditation?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Has anybody ever taught you any aspect of meditation?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of that too, and if you want to learn more, we can do more, as we go through, depending on what comes up for you. Mindfulness meditation is a matter of taking a moment to realize what's around you, right here, right now. No matter what anybody else has said or doing, it's really beneficial with anxiety because you're focusing on right now.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you're in class, obviously you can't just shut your eyes and look like you're falling asleep, but you can do it in your mind.
Yes, ma'am.
And say to yourself, find one thing I can smell. And you're sniffing, and maybe you pick up on somebody's perfume or cologne, and you found that, and still feeling kind of anxious. So then you go, I need two things I can touch: my hair, my desk. Physically do it. No one's going to know any difference. Maybe you have a pencil in your hand. Still a little stressed or still a little anxious? Give me 3 things I can see: the teacher, my books, my partner.
Yes, ma'am.
You see what I'm doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Go to 5. Usually by the time you find 5 things using all 5 senses, sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. You don't want 5 things you can taste when you're sitting in class. Because you can be licking fingers. So put that one a little further down the list. Like, what's one thing I could taste? Maybe you're wearing cherry chapstick and you can taste it. Maybe it's your first class of the day and you had coffee. You can taste it.
Yes, ma'am.
Go to 5. 5 senses, 5 steps. And for each one, you do that number of things.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe you can't do that in a regular class. So we've got to give you another step. Another step that you could do would be simply to zone out with what you're hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
You may have to catch up in class, but you just kind of zone out with what you hear. Just think of your favorite song, get it going in your head, and count yourself to 10. And that is, just go very slow. 1, 2, breathe in between, 3, and just literally bring yourself down to a point where you're not feeling that rage of anxiety like you talked about.
Yes, ma'am.
My concern with you using the term rage is you have no outlet at school. So it builds and
Yes,
it builds and it builds, and then you go home and maybe dad and you don't hit it off, or stepmom and you don't hit it off, or the dogs and you don't hit it off, and all of a sudden Melody explodes and nobody knows why.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm assuming you have a boyfriend. You're too cute not to. You don't want to take it out on him.
Very
and you
true.
can't keep it inside. So with meditation, it gives you ways to release it little bits at a time. If you can close your eyes in class, of course that's going to be the best thing.
Yes,
Close
ma'am.
your eyes, think it through, listen, pay attention to your body. Be intuitive to what Melody's being told.
Yes, ma'am.
So, let's pretend you're anxious. You have a test coming up. You didn't study. You're up late fighting with your boyfriend. Dad got on you this morning because you were late getting up. Which modality would work best for you?
Taking deep breaths
Okay.
and just trying to calm down.
Okay. How many breaths does it take for you to calm down?
Usually about 3 or 4.
Has it ever been more?
Yes.
Anything in particular, or just a bad day, or just things hit all at one time?
Just things hit all at one time.
Okay. I like the fact that you're aware of your surroundings.
Yes, ma'am.
You're aware of how you feel. That's a very good skill for a 14-year-old. So let's work with that as we go through our sessions, and we'll build on it. Do you have any way in your classroom to play like with a piece of paper, or are you allowed to roll a pencil?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That can be another modality to relax. Put all your energy into that pencil. You can still look and listen and learn. But that pencil, just don't break it, because you break it, you won't have another one.
Very true.
But put all that anger, that anxiousness into that pencil.
Yes, ma'am.
And then set it down. Shake your hand out, pick it up, and go back. Would that work?
Yes, ma'am, it would.
Okay. Do you think you could teach a friend how to do this that's anxious?
Yes, ma'am, I could.
So you understand the directions enough that you're comfortable with what you're doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so on our next session, I want to know how it goes. Keep mental notes, write a journal, jot notes on your phone, whatever works for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And let's talk about it. Because if we need to tweak it, we can. We can make funny faces with it. We can, there's other things you can do for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And in the meantime, is there anything I need to know about what's going on at home or at school? Is there any bullying or anything that's really making you upset on a regular basis that we need to touch on today? Or can we wait for next session? What's good for you?
There is this one kid,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who he is, made a fake account,
Mm-hmm.
quit texting me, but in the past was very rude, very strong language, trying to hurt me mentally.
How did that make you feel?
It made me feel very upset, insecure, mainly, very insecure, and just all in all, terrible.
Okay. What did you do with that information?
I told my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I told a few friends, see if they knew, trying to figure out friends I could trust.
Mm-hmm.
People outside of school, very close people I could trust.
Okay.
Trying to see who did it.
Any coaches or teachers? Did you go that route?
I told a coach, yes.
Okay.
She told me that should not have been done.
Mm-hmm.
She said that kids nowadays are rude, to let it slide off. She told me that even though it's going to be hard, it's possible.
Okay. She's right. I don't necessarily agree with the bullying tactic being slid off, if that's how you felt, for someone to make you feel that way. But I also know that it could be harder for you if somebody approached this school district and they recognized this person.
Yeah.
It could make it worse. So it's kind of a predicament. You're kind of stuck in the middle. So let's talk about it some more. There's no reason for you to be insecure, but I do understand why it made you insecure. So that gives me one thing to add to our agenda for next week.
Yes,
I've
ma'am.
told your dad I want to see you a couple weeks in a row. And let me gather some skills together for you to do with building your security for yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Your dad tells me you're an amazing baseball player or softball player. So I think we're going to do something around that idea. 3 bases, a pitch, a grounder, something so that you can trigger yourself when you need to stand up taller and say, you're not getting to me.
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll do it in terms that you're familiar with. Does that sound good?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Okay, so for the next week, we're going to work on anxiety, decreasing, diffusing situations, and we're going to keep track of the times that you feel insecure and anxious, and we're going to talk about it next week, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And if you need me, your dad has my number. Nothing goes to your dad. This is between you and I, and he will let you call me.
Yes, ma'am.
If it gets really bad, do not hesitate to call me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? You're 14. We're going to save this. Deal?
Deal.
Good. I hug all my patients. Oh, it's good to have you.